Okay, this is our UX working group meeting for July 10th, 2017. And I'll actually start up the screen share just so we can have something to look at on the recording. Hopefully Big Blue Button will cooperate with me. Okay, I should be sharing the agenda page if everybody sees that. Yes? Okay, great. And it looks like we had a couple other people join, which is great. It looks like their audio is still connecting. So I thought today, just to kind of recap so we don't lose the thread of it completely, some of our discussion from last time we met, which was actually May, because we didn't meet last month because of Open Apereo was the same week. So the last time we met was in May, and we talked about site info and ways we could maybe optimize that. So I thought we'd start off just getting a little bit of feedback on that, especially from the folks who weren't on the call in May. And I had done right after our call, it's been a couple months since I've looked at it actually, but right after our call I did some preliminary mock-ups based on our discussion, but I wanted to get some more feedback from this group because those were very, very preliminary. And I know Sean, I think, had emailed a comment about a couple of changes, but I haven't incorporated any of that. Like I said, I haven't touched it since May. So there's a link there, and I thought we'd start off looking at that and just spend a few minutes on that piece of it, and then we'll talk more about the UX inventory. And I know Julie's got some information that she wanted to share with us and kind of get that ball rolling. So before we start on any of that, is there anything else that anyone would like to add to the agenda for today? I don't hear anything, so I'm assuming that's a no. I know some of you don't have microphones, so feel free to type it in if you don't have a mic. Okay, so everyone should have the link to the agenda, and if you click on the link there, it'll open up another Google document. It should be open for anybody to open and comment. So if you have any trouble getting into it, let me know. But basically, last time what we had talked about was, and there's been discussion about this before, is there a way we can kind of streamline the site info tool in Sakai, because it's kind of serving a lot of purposes, and there's two very different audiences for the tool. There's the student, and certain features, naming and all that sort of thing makes sense for a student, but doesn't necessarily make sense for the instructor and the actions that they would perform there. So we were trying to find a way to either reconcile the two or possibly split them apart. And I think what we had talked about last time was that maybe splitting them into two different tools was a better solution. And then having one of them that would, what site info is now from mostly, just removing a little bit of it, would be more content oriented, and removing the participant enrollment type of features, moving that over to the roster tool instead. So you can see the little summary paragraph there where it kind of describes the rationale for that. And then I had done some very rough mock-ups, and I'll just open this up so we can all look at them on the recording and everything. So what this illustrates is, you'll see that site info has been renamed to settings, and it's a hidden tool. So it would only be visible to instructors or TAs if they have the permission to see that. So it would not be a tool that students would see at all over here in the side, because currently the only thing that students really go to Site Info for is to get to groups. There's not really a whole lot of other stuff they can do there. So, so we thought if we move the groups thing to roster where there's already some group information, then that would be a more logical place for students to go. And then this tool could be focused completely on faculty. And let's see, one change here is the LA text would be kind of a toggle instead of within the page order. That was, I think, one thing that somebody had mentioned. Having that be sort of something you could turn on or off for the site. And then let's see, I think I moved some of the information around. I dropped the user on a tab instead of just on a page that they can, or on a page that they can actually edit instead of a page that only displays information. So the landing screen there is one where you could actually perform an action versus the landing screen that you get now, which is kind of, you have to go somewhere else really to make any changes unless you're changing users. Then we talked about manage tools, and this was actually taken from Sean's mock-up. I just kind of did a screen grab and dropped it in here. So it's a little rough. It's not, you know, quite perfect, but you get the overall idea that this is Sean's kind of improved tool adding and managing section, and that they would be combined into one instead of two separate tabs for adding tools and managing tools. It would kind of be one thing. And then we had talked a lot about having an app center, and that maybe the LTI, there's a LTI tab right now in Site Info, that maybe that could be transformed into something about the App Center. Now this is just, again, a screen grab of the Canvas App Center. So, you know, ours might not look like this. This is just conceptual to give you kind of a preview of what it could look like if we wanted it to build out something like that. And it might be something Sugi related. I know I've seen some stuff from Dr. Chuck that maybe Sugi could be what is called here, and it has its own store. So that might be something that could be done. Oh, I see a few comments in the chat. Let's see. Oh, thanks, Laura. I wonder about the position of the grab bars and favorites. The grabs are on the right. Shouldn't they both be in the same direction since they do the same thing? Oh, on the reordering over here. Yeah, I didn't, that one was kind of taken from an early mock-up of Sean's, so I didn't really do anything with this, but you know, we could talk about the grab bars and stuff when that gets, yeah, Sean's saying that this mock-up predates the Sites drawer changes. So this was pretty early. This was, I think, from last year sometime. All right, so where was I? Okay, App Center. And then on the import screen, instead of having two different tabs for import content and import file, I thought maybe you just have one tab that says import content, and you have all your import choices there, because it doesn't force the user to make that choice at the outset, and they don't have the confusion of which one they need to go to. So it's really just combining those two pieces onto one page. And then you've still got duplicate site and link to parent site. Those are non-change, so I didn't actually include them in this little mock-up. And then the functionality that you see here that is gone, I've moved over to the roster. So in the roster area is where I moved the edit participants, the edit class roster, manage groups, and the user audit log. All of those things moved over to the roster area. And the landing page is a little bit different. You've still got your list of people there, but I put the groups information that you get at the top when you're a student and you go to Site Info. You kind of see that up at the top. And maybe we could, you know, have something there that's similar so that they're not really losing functionality. They just go to a different place to see it that way. And then from here, you would have your edit participants where you can add people or change roles. And these tabs would only show up for faculty, obviously, or someone with an edit permission. And then you could add your rosters from here, and you can also manage your groups from here. And let's see. Oh, and the audit log I went ahead and put in here because it seemed to fit with the rest of the user related items. So that was pretty much it as far as what I had come up with based on our discussion in May. Any thoughts, feedback, changes? I know Sean had mentioned a couple. I can't remember what they were now.
I just pulled up the message that I sent to the group that you had sent that out to. And the few things that I had mentioned was, well, now that I review them, I don't like as many of them. So let me just mention the one that I do like, which is probably renaming the roster tool to something like participants or something like that, to make it a little bit more generic so that it could fit in with project sites as well that don't have rosters, and get rid of the whole notion of rosters for like students so that it's more participation based, especially when you're incorporating groups and stuff like that when you're a member. So I really like the stuff that you've done here, Wilma. I think we could tweak little bits of the wording here and there, and so the change from the roster tool to like participants or something like that might just make that a little bit clearer or more general.
Yeah, I like that. That makes it a little less course specific.
I think the other suggestion that I had was edit participants could be like manage participants. So it's a lot of like manage across the top. But other than that,
yeah, that would work too. I'm not particularly attached to any of these. I think I grabbed them from the terminology that was in site info. So I don't remember what's there now. Does it say add participants?
Yeah, you've got add participants right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I put edit because I wanted it to reflect that you could also change their roles and make them inactive and active as well as add them. But manage would work just as well there. So
yeah, locally in site info in our institutions, Sakai, we have a manage participants tab on Insight Info. We did that so that we would pull the participants list off of the main page and have its own dedicated page. The reason we did that was we have larger courses and classes, and some of them were taking a long time to load that page. So if you wanted to go to site info just to edit a tool, for example, you'd have to wait for the whole participants list to load. So we moved our participants to manage participants, and it's something that we've wanted to contribute back for a while. We don't feel like it's quite as polished as we want it to be before we contribute it, but I can see that easily being contributed to resources instead of site info, for example, to fit what you've got here, because it is essentially the page that you've created that you have up on the screen right now. Yeah, I like this stuff.
Yeah, are you talking there, Wilma? I made a comment here about naming roster to participants. Does that
Sorry, I was muted because my dog was barking. The garbage delivery truck was going by and she was not happy about that. All right. Okay, so let's see. Roster. If roster is changed to participants, what does the button edit class rosters change to? I don't know that would necessarily need to change because the class roster is something that is part of the participants in the course, you know? So if you wanted to keep class roster the same, you could, because not everyone uses a roster. Some people just add participants manually or some other way. So,
yeah, I agree with all that, Wilma. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So Julianne mentions the interactive mockup looks really good. I think we at UD are eventually planning on making add, remove tools, manage tools a single page with more of a tile layout, similar to the tool layout in the mobile view. Each tile would have an icon with a short description, tools that are in your site would be green, and then you would click on them to turn them off, and there would be some sort of drop down or icon for hiding, disabling, etc. So your add remove tools, like kind of this page, would actually look a little more like the App Center. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, either could easily be dropped in. I was just sort of pulling from our current library of mock-ups or existing functionality, but certainly if there was another way to reimagine the managed tools area, that could certainly be incorporated.
Yeah, and UVA has also indicated to me that they are interested in a similar or different I've gotten mixed messages, but a redo of the managed tools as well. So
Yeah, I saw their
maybe the three of us should work together. Yeah.
Yeah, they had a really nice presentation about how they were kind of redoing that, making it more of an app store for the tools that you choose. You get a little description, and I think they even had like thoughts of including videos and how you would use a tool and stuff like that. So it was pretty neat. All right, so Laura says she likes the green on. Oh, you're talking about here, the little for the LA text. Yeah, I pulled that from, I think it was preferences, or gradebook or somewhere. Somewhere it appears.
Also for the managed tools screen, like Julianne mentioned, something like the App Store. But if you take the whole green equals on kind of thing, then perhaps you can combine the current tools with the add new tools by having only one list with green specifying what's on.
Yeah, that's a good idea too. Seems like we should probably have a meeting that just talks about the managed tools, add tools stuff. So we should probably maybe table that for next month, because I want to leave some time for Jolie to talk about the UX inventory. But any other general thoughts on the splitting of the functionality here? Do we need to do a little more work on it before we sort of put it out on the email list and maybe put it out to Sakai users to see what they think? I don't know, Sean, from a developer standpoint, do you think what we're talking about here is too radical as far as moving functionality from one tool to another?
I'm not familiar with the roster tool myself. We don't use it here locally, so I don't have any opinions about that or background on it. I know that site info is a beast, and as far as the backend goes, so changing things might be fun, but removing's sometimes easier.
Yeah. All right, so maybe we should get a little bit of developer input on feasibility to see if this is something that's possible before we get too deep into the details. But a lot of times, like you said, pulling things out of a tool is easier than adding new things. So
sometimes.
Yeah, if it's not like critical to the tool. Okay, great. So feel free to comment on this. I think you can add comments directly on the mock-up. You can either comment here or you can comment on the Google Doc if you have other thoughts or suggestions or anything like that. So feel free to comment in either location so that we can get everybody's feedback, and then we'll see if we can get some more developer eyes on it and see if it's feasible before we go too much further down the road. But anyway, so thanks everyone.
Thank you, Laura, for capturing my points too.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to our agenda doc, and I'm going to actually turn it over to Jolie, and so she can talk to you guys about the UX inventory.
Hi everyone. I'm following up on our meeting that we had at the conference. it seems like the meeting that we had about the UI inventory, about this project, I put a link in the chat to the Confluence page that we created. I think a lot of the folks here that are on this call are already aware of the project and what the plan is. But I wanted to go ahead and put the link in there because for some reason, I think it's because of the language of this, the pattern library, instead of the style guide, I might change this. I even have a hard time searching for this in Confluence for some reason. So I'm going to try to figure out why that is and change that, because the link on here goes out to the docs. So in case you're new on this call and don't know about this project is an attempt to inventory the UI elements of the tools in Sakai, all parts of Sakai, with the goal of defining a style guide. Style guide is the ultimate goal. The inventory is just a process prior to that to determine what the elements of the UI look like currently, where the discrepancies are, and to kind of use that information to decide how we want to define the look and feel of Sakai through a style guide. There's another element of this, sorry about that, there's another element of this that includes managing code as well, but that's well down the line. I know we have folks who are concerned about that and how skins and the look and feel are managed from a technical perspective in Sakai. But right now, this is just the design process. And we have someone at Duke. Her name is Barbara Puccio. She's not on the call today, but she will be jumping in as needed to manage the project. And ultimately, it will be her team that comes up with sort of the initial style guide that will be completely community driven in collaboration with their group, because she has a whole team of designers, UX designers, everything, accessibility. There's a whole team over in Duke Web Services. And so they have sort of the expertise to put together sort of an initial style guide for us. The part that the community needs to work on at this point is the UI piece. And we'll be contributing here at Duke to the UI inventory, but I know there are a lot of other folks who are interested in participating in this. Just last week, I met with some folks at Illinois State who were anxious to get started. And so I talked them through it, and I think they're already getting started on the UI inventory. So there's a link here in the middle of this Confluence page that goes to a Google Doc. And this is the strategy for the UI inventory. This was completely modeled on how we do QA. We have these spreadsheets that list all the tools. We have a place for owner, the status, what if it's complete, if somebody's completely done QAing a tool. And it looks a little bit different for QA. There are other pieces to it, but this is how we modeled it. And the idea is that a team would be able to pick a tool that they want to inventory. And there's to the right, under link to visual inventory document, there's a link to Google Slide Set. So like for account, if you click on account, or assignments, either one, Wilma. All of these slide decks look exactly the same. The only difference is the first slide has the name of the tool that you're inventorying. And the idea is that each slide in the deck organizes the UI by certain elements. One was clicking through them now, but there's like global, icons, headers, image types, all these different categories or buckets that you might put a UI element into. And so you'll use this to organize the elements that you capture. When you do a screen grab of a button, you say, oh, this is a button, this is a cancel button, I'm going to grab this. The idea is that after you capture a UI element, if you find nothing but consistent elements of buttons after that, then you're done with that type of element, that type of button. The only thing that you would capture after that would be any kind of distinct treatment. If you saw a button that you realize, oh, this doesn't look like the cancel button that I captured, or all the other buttons I've seen since then, this one's different, that's when you would do another capture of a button. And since Sakai is different than like a website, you might do this through a website. Sakai is an application where you have different roles. And we accounted for that. Wilma, if you'll go up to maybe the second slide, I think it is. There's a place where we, third one down is where there's that example of how to capture that. So let's say you log in and this is the account tool, but let's say you're in assignments and you've logged in as an instructor and you capture buttons, different UI elements. You would put an I next to those UI elements so that it's understood that you were in the role of instructor. And so you'll see here the example, we have an S for student, TA for TA, teaching assistant. And then she has another example below that has student, TA, instructor, visitor. At Duke, we also have course builder, which is what the C is for. I know not everyone has that, but the M and the A stand for maintain and access. So if you were capturing from a project site. So the idea is just once you log in and start the process of capturing the inventory, you just define what role you were logged in as when you captured those elements with the little letter next to the element. The idea is that this is supposed to be quick. I think it probably seems labor intensive to folks. I think it could take some time, especially if you want to capture all the roles. But I would like to get started now. My thinking is that we should start now with the inventory because with the 12 QA moved out to August, that tends to get into very busy time for university folks. And I don't want to compete with QA resources in August. So it makes more sense to start the inventory now for tools that are likely to not be touched by 12. So if we'll go back, Wilma, to the Google Doc. Yeah, to the spreadsheet, sorry. In this list, you'll see these are the list of the tools, and there's another tab at the bottom, another sheet for instructions. And I updated this just recently to include tools that I have defined as tools that are not being touched by 12 revisions before July 31. And so that's what this list here is in the beginning. We're under purpose. And the goal would be to wait on some tools that we know are being modified in 12 for now, just in case UI elements are changed, then we don't have double work. If any of that is wrong, please let me know. I've collected this list of tools from core team meetings, meeting notes, and the Sakai 12 straw person. So I think it's accurate, but I would be happy to be corrected and avoid any kind of duplication of effort. So does anyone have any questions about the inventory process or concerns about starting now or thoughts?
I think I've got it, Jolie.
It's pretty straightforward, I have to say. My concern now is that I know some folks are on this call that are interested in participating in the inventory, but I'll probably send out a follow-up message from this meeting with a recording so that anyone who's not here who wants to participate can review this. And then if anyone has questions, I'll be happy to meet with their institution, or the team of folks will be doing it individually. When I met with Illinois State folks, they're going to have a student doing this work. So I met with them individually to kind of get them started, but it was a quick call. I think it's pretty straightforward. I'm excited because I think that it's going to be really revealing once we have all the inventory together and Barbara kind of collects everything and then sorts it out for us and shows us, you know, where our inconsistencies are. So wait, there's a question from Julianne. Yeah, you know, this priority column. Yes, let's just get rid of the priority column because that was just taken from the QA spreadsheet. I don't think it really applies here. I think that when you have a project like this, everything is important. I know we tend to, you know, kind of make admin stuff like, oh, that's okay, we'll get to that later. And we you know, granted, it is a later thing that we can do later. If there's anything that's lower priority, it would be admin stuff. But I think in the context of us wanting to make Sakai easier to use, easier to get started with, easier for people to evaluate. I mean, it's as much as a marketing aspect as it is, you know, being consistent with our UI, that goal. We want to look at that stuff too. It's a, you know, admin workspace is a completely different animal than the rest of the application in terms of what you do there, what those tasks are. But I do think it's worth looking at. So I do want to include that in our capture. But yeah, I'll delete that column because I just don't think it applies here. Thanks for asking that, Julianne.
Should we maybe highlight the tools on this page that are sort of the ones people should focus on first?
Yeah, I put that on the instructions page.
Right. I'm thinking it might be easier as you're kind of going down the list if you see maybe the ones in bold or the ones we want to start with or something.
Sure.
Just easy
if you
way
think that
to...
would be, yes, if you think that would be the best way to quickly identify what we're working on now, I'll be happy to go through and bold the ones that that I've identified on the main on the instructions page, and I can remove that and just say tools in bold are the ones we're currently inventorying, and I'll just keep updating that as I feel like I'm just going to keep watching the development of 12, and if it looks like a tool's not going to be worked on anymore, I'll probably go back and bold it. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's probably an easier way. It streamlines it a little bit instead of me continuing to add to this list of here are the tools that we're inventorying now. That's a good idea.
So if somebody wants to sign up for a tool, do they just put their name down? Do they need to do anything special? Or
no, they don't need to do anything special. You can just put your name down, and you know that you'll see that Ben from Illinois State put his name on dashboard, which I don't think I included that in my list because I think dashboard is not something that we're doing. I wonder if he was just doing that to get a sense of what the inventory is going to be like. But what he did, forget whether or not dashboard is relevant right now. I guess if it's a tool that's still going to be, even if it's a contrib tool, because I think dashboard's going back to contrib.
Yeah, we should probably take dashboard off the list.
No. All right, I'll let him know. I don't think that was on my list that I gave him because the list is the same one that's on the instructions. I don't think I included dashboard, but that's okay. I will. I'll resolve that. I'll touch base with Ben and make sure that one's not bolded when I make those changes. But yes, all you have to do is put your name on the, or even your institution's name on the owner column. If you have a specific person that you want to be contacted at that institution, that would go under lead. And then just changing it to testing in progress. And, you know, I think they were concerned at Illinois, you know, how will we know, you know, we don't want to overwrite someone else's work. And I said, well, when you click on the link to the inventory doc, you should be able to see any work that's happened there already. So and the spreadsheet captures a lot of that already, like the roles tested. and who's working on it. So look at that.
Yeah, looks like he did do some work on it.
Yeah. Awesome. So am I right in thinking that starting now is better because once QA starts in August, I think we're all going to feel much more crunched. And there will be things that we have to do. We'll have to wait until the code freeze because we don't want to work on a tool that's still being modified.
Right.
But to me, it makes sense to go ahead and start inventorying things that we are pretty sure are not going to change, so that when August rolls around and we want to ramp up QA, that we don't have something like this also taking folks' time.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense because
Yeah.
August tends to be really busy anyway. And then you put QA on top of that, there's going to be very little time to go around. So it's
that's what I'm thinking. As soon as I saw that Neil said that we're looking for an early August QA kickoff for 12, I thought we've got to start moving on the inventory now. And last week was not a good week to do it because of the 4th holiday week. So I'm hoping that now and between now and early August, that we'll be able to get a lot of the tools done that aren't being touched with 12. So after that, we can just focus on anything that's been modified.
And like you said, I mean, it seems maybe a little intimidating if you've not done one of these, but it shouldn't take that much time per tool, right?
I know. I mean, I think we'll know once we really start. I think what can, and also too, I think the reality is where you'll see more UI elements is when you're owner or instructor, right? Because you have access to everything. And then when you log in as a student, you just probably see a subset of those. And maybe you do see a few different elements, but you'll see less. Or maybe you do see something different because you're a student instead of an instructor. But generally, because you can do fewer things, there are fewer UI elements. So I'm hoping that it does go quick. I think that's the goal, is that it's supposed to be a pretty quick thing that you just screenshot buttons, UI elements, and make a quick note about what they are, put a letter by it, and keep going. So yeah, I'm really excited about the end result. I'm really anxious to see the end result of the UI inventory and to start working with Barbara to move forward with a style guide. Since this is the first step, we haven't talked much about what's next because this really has to happen first, but it's just exciting.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really, really needed project. This is one that Sakai has been lacking and getting that consistency across tools. So I think it's going to be a huge improvement in the overall user experience to have more consistency throughout, so it feels very seamless. And the best way to do that is to do an inventory like this and have that style guide to refer to. So I applaud your work at Duke because this is, I think, a really great way to get that whole process going.
That's great. Thank you, Wilma. Jennifer just asked a really great question and made me realize that what we're missing on the instructions page is where to inventory, and the place to do it is on master. And so let me put a link there, because that's where things are going to be updated. I'm going to go ahead and add that here. Okay, I just added to for tester step 2 where to go. I'll make it a link, but yeah, that's where all the most recent code will be. So that's where we'll need to do our testing. Thank you, Jennifer, for pointing that out, that was missing.
And does
Anything else?
everyone knows how to log in to master? It is refreshed periodically, so you might have to create some accounts. I'm not sure if, are we creating dummy accounts on that?
I don't think so. I think you can log in with admin and create a local account if you want to do that.
I know
otherwise,
some of the other ones now have some accounts in them, but I don't think Trunk does. So yeah, you need to log in as admin.
Yeah. Or instructor with Sakai or student with Sakai. Those are the default logins. So the login name is instructor, the password is Sakai, the login name is student, password is Sakai, and the only difference is admin, which is admin as the username and password. So
I'm just wondering, I know since we kind of modeled this after the QA process, I know the QA, especially during the big kickoff for testing for Sakai 11, they had the QA test fest each week.
mm-hmm.
Do you think we would need something similar to get this going, or not? I don't. I'm just asking the question.
Sure. I mean, I'd be happy to do it I'm happy to meet with any institutions that want to participate if they want to get their group together at a time that's good for them, and I meet with them to just get them started and answer questions. I'd be happy to do that too. Does anybody have any opinions about that? What's better?
Apparently nobody has any opinions. Maybe we could schedule it like one to let people know, hey, come and be there this day, this time, if you want to learn more, because maybe they don't want to go to the extra step of scheduling a time with you, but if there's a session going on, people might pop in.
Yeah, that sounds good. And we're recording this. I was hoping to follow up with after our meeting today, once the recording is ready, and send it out and just say, hey, we're moving forward with this. I know there are folks who are interested in participating. Look at this. If you have questions, contact me, but we're also doing this session and we can schedule that.
Yeah, I think that would be good. And maybe if somebody could see you actually do an inventory on, a couple of elements to see exactly how it's done. So
sure.
that, they kind of get a sense of, oh, okay, that's how you do it. I know it's not terribly complicated, but, if somebody's new to the process, they might just want to know to make sure they're doing it right. So
I'll be happy to do that.
Cool. Okay.
So
Julianne
says group process, group session. Sure, that sounds great. We'll do it.
And Sean's asking, do we need to indicate where an element was found?
Well, we'll know it's within that tool that you're doing the inventory for, but
like which page or condition, mobile versus desktop?
Well, I think the condition or the sort of category would probably be whatever the slide is that sort of says what the function of that UI element is. I'm trying to figure out, like, since you're trying, the goal is to kind of look across your entire application and say, for this type of task, we have this element.
Yeah,
if
so
it
like here it just
matters.
headers, footers, global elements, but you would have a different set for mobile versus desktop.
Yeah, I mean, it would be good to know if you are going to do an inventory for mobile. I think that when we originally, gosh, this is an old question because I feel like this came up early on, and we decided we weren't going to do mobile. But I'm open to changing that. I'm trying to remember what we discussed. I think maybe we were just going to prioritize inconsistencies within like the the desktop application, just because we felt like mobile was out of scope, or like mobile has its own kind of issues, right? Yeah, if someone wants to go ahead and capture some mobile stuff, that's great. Let me see. My original thought was finding a link or text or button deep in testing quizzes saying question pools or doing a quiz attempt. Yeah. I think it's fine. If you feel like what you've captured needs more information, then it's in this tool under this type of category. Yeah, if you want to document that,
Maybe
I think.
just kind of list the navigation that you got to get there, like breadcrumbs, kind of. So you don't have to write a big narrative, but just,
Don't write a big narrative. No.
like tests and quizzes, import quiz, import to pool, or whatever steps you took to get there, which should be good.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
I agree. It could get confusing if you don't know exactly where the element shows up, because some tools like tests and quizzes have many, many layers.
Yes, I know. That's true. Right. Yes, so that's a good idea. If you feel like that's important, or would be hard to go back and say, what is the context of this UI item, right? Like, what we know it's in testing quizzes somewhere, but yeah, that would probably be really helpful. Yeah, that's another good point. If we want to go, once we move beyond the style guide and we say now we need to go back and fix stuff, where is that thing that we need to fix? Because we know we don't want it to look like that anymore, or to be called that, or whatever. So that's a good point, Sean. So thank you, everyone, for letting me take time in the meeting today.
Well, thank you, Jolie, for putting this together. This is really good what you've done so far, and I'm sure it's going to be great once we get everything inventoried. It's really going to be very, very helpful. So I'm excited to see how it turns out too.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so we'll just go ahead and wrap up because it is almost 12. Just real quickly, our next meeting is currently scheduled for August 7th at 11 a.m. Does that still work for everybody? I know sometimes August is tricky with people.
That's a civic holiday for us in Canada.
Okay. We want to move to the following week?
Considering I'm the only Canadian that showed up today, I'm not sure how much weight that holds.
Yeah.
Well, so that's the first Monday, August 7th?
Yeah, our first Monday in August is usually a civic holiday, yeah.
Okay.
We could move to the 14th if you want, or if you want to leave it alone, that's fine too.
What did we have for the agenda for next month?
We don't have one yet.
Is that going to be the site info discussion? Is that what
Yeah,
you
we'll
mentioned?
probably continue that a little bit, and we'll probably return to the UI inventory as well. So unless anything new comes up between now and then.
Would the 14th be too late, Laura? Laura had mentioned that later dates in August are getting close to the start of the semester.
Right.
When does your fall semester start?
I know a lot of schools start that in late August, so that second or last week in August. Those 2 weeks tend to be fairly busy, but usually the middle week is right before classes begin in general. Then again, a lot of people are on vacation that week because it's right before classes begin.
Mhm.
Yeah, Laura says they do a lot of training preceding the 21st. Well, we can put it out to the list. We'll tentatively leave it for the 7th, but I'm open to changing it to the 14th if that's better for Sean or others. You can comment there if we want to change the time. And if you have any thoughts on agenda items that you would like to add for next month, let me know and we can put them on there. But like I said, we'll probably revisit the UX inventory and maybe talk a little more about site info depending on what kind of feedback we get between now and then. Or maybe if UVA, somebody from UVA is interested in talking about their site or managed tools reorganization, maybe we could kind of focus in on that piece of it as well. So that's another potential topic. All right. Well, thanks everyone and have a great week. And I will talk to you next month, if not sooner. So take care.
Thanks, Wilma.
Bye.